And for the first time, there was a new school of thought that was chemically induced that made people question the very society they lived in. By 1960, the President of the United States was only 42 years old. Can you imagine? DMX is older than that. And he was going to usher in a new era of peace. He was going to avoid the Cold War. He was going to end segregation. And they blew his brains out in front of everyone in Dallas. This country was never the same.
Right now, if you had them prepare themselves in whatever way they would have to prepare themselves to come to battle, and I bet what I have, everything I have, that meatloaf.
Are there any good white people in the world?
There may be, but it doesn't matter. And you know why? No matter how good an individual white person may be, they have an obligation to look out for the best interests of the white race.
I seen this dude screaming, crying, saying, "You fuckers did it right now. I don't want to hear nothing from you self-righteous libs, Democrats. We're coming for you." Knowing damn well the person that did it, y'all know what it is. Betty White.
We need to have a serious conversation about how some of Charlie Kirk's supporters are shifting the blame onto Black and brown communities for the recent backlash. This is simply because those communities aren't mourning the loss of a man who once claimed that Black Americans were better off before the civil rights movement, citing lower crime rates as his reasoning.
They were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crime.
Interestingly, these are the same individuals who previously ridiculed the deaths of Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, George Floyd, and many others from Black communities. And now, they're criticizing how people are reacting to Charlie Kirk's situation. There appears to be a recurring pattern here. At the same time, a number of Black celebrities are speaking out. While a few are taking a more measured and diplomatic approach, others are being direct, openly stating they feel no sympathy whatsoever for Charlie Kirk. 50 Cent dropped a post so reckless he was pressured to delete it. Now, some of Charlie Kirk's own supporters have gone as far as making threats against him. What's striking is that these same individuals remained silent when news broke about the Colorado school shooting, which occurred just hours after Charlie was attacked. Amanda Seales highlighted this exact contradiction, plainly stating that she doesn't feel any empathy for Charlie. On the other hand, Dr. Umar has stepped into the conversation, taking a more cautious approach. He's urging Black Americans not to celebrate Charlie's death and is attempting to strike a more balanced tone. So what do these mixed reactions actually tell us? Is it all just meant to provoke a reaction, or does it reflect a deeper truth about the divisions within the country? Stay with me, because I'll break down exactly what these celebrities have said, what posts they've taken down, and why their comments are causing such a stir in the ongoing discussion around Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Women and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
That's your explanation, but I guess...
Racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been.
That affected...
The first major celebrity to speak out was 50 Cent. And in typical 50 Cent fashion, he didn't release a formal message or offer sympathy. Instead, he posted a screenshot, unfiltered and straight to the point, of the moment Charlie Kirk was shot and wrote in the caption, "Want to know how I feel about this? I don't know, but I do know it's a good time to shut the F up." As expected, Charlie Kirk's supporters quickly lashed out at 50 Cent. They called him cold, disrespectful, and accused him of celebrating Kirk's death. His comment section was flooded with angry reactions from Kirk's followers, claiming 50's career was over and demanding he be canceled permanently. Some responses even crossed a line, with people posting threats like, "Hope you're next." The pushback must have had an effect, because the post didn't stay up for long. 50 quietly took it down within a few hours, but not everyone thought 50 was out of line. In fact, many jumped to his defense, arguing that Charlie Kirk made a career out of downplaying Black pain, promoting racially charged conspiracy theories, and mocking victims of police violence. Their stance? Don't expect compassion from the very people you refuse to show compassion to. One user put it bluntly, "I'm not feeling sympathy for someone who would call me every slur in the book." "Sorry, bookie," another commented. "This is all just for show," while real tragedies, like parents losing their kids to school shootings, get ignored. Next up is DL Hewley, and if you know DL, you know he didn't hold anything back. He first reposted a video from a TikTok creator, highlighting the irony of Charlie Kirk once claiming that having a few shooting victims is a price worth paying if it means keeping his guns. And just to be clear, Charlie actually did say that. He stated outright that gun deaths were an acceptable trade-off.
It's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
But D.L. Hughley didn't stop with just that one clip. He went on to share another video.
Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage, but it...
I have watched any number of people of all kinds of stripes, people, theologians, politicians, people who consider themselves activists, all kinds of people on the conservative right talk about empathy, and they talked about empathy as if it was a pariah, empathy as if it was a moral failing, and they referred to empathy as a weakness. And it's interesting that they would call themselves Christian and be anti-empathy, because that is the tenet, a core tenet of Christianity. So that is being a Christian without the empathy is like being a sushi chef without the fish. But empathy is apparently a weakness to a lot of people. And you never know, but I have always believed and hold this now, that empathy is quintessentially human. Human. It is the core of humanity. It certainly is the core of Christianity, if you call yourself Christ-like. But how is it that you can despise empathy, that you think it is a weakness, that you think that people are susceptible to it like it's the cold or the flu, and that you despise empathy, but would like it when someone who you love is hurt or killed? We can either decide to be human and empathic, whether we relate to, like, or understand a person or not. But in America, nothing is more American. Nothing is more quintessentially who we are than violence against people we disagree with, and then having a lack of empathy when we don't relate to them, when we don't like them, when they don't look like us. I don't know how you can be a Christian nation and call yourself a Christian nation and extol the virtues of Christianity, but only be empathic when they look like you. That's not Christianity. That's not humanity. That's tribalism.
This next video featured Speaker of the House Mike Johnson calling on fellow members of Congress to pray for Charlie Kirk and his family. D.L. Hughley wasn't here for it, and made that very clear. The hypocrisy, he pointed out, was hard to ignore. In his caption, he wrote, "Has Mike Johnson done this for victims of school shootings? Did Mike Johnson do this for Congresswoman Hortman and her husband Mark, who were unalived?" And when news broke that Trump ordered U.S. flags to be flown at half-mast to honor Charlie Kirk, D.L. went off again, saying, but he ordered the flags that were at half-mast for the Pope to be raised. Again, we haven't lowered flags for innocent children who have been unalive. He didn't order the flags lowered for Congresswoman Hortman. Is it a tragic event? Yes. Does it deserve that ceremony? You know the answer to that. D.L. went on to highlight yet another example of the double standards at play, specifically pointing out how Charlie Kirk and his supporters have long dismissed empathy as a weakness. And now, those same voices are calling for compassion on behalf of a man who once said he couldn't stand the word empathy, and even suggested it was a made-up concept.
I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk. First of all, Charlie Kirk don't believe in empathy. He said it's a bad thing. He said it's some new age made-up shit. He also said people gotta be sacrificed in order to protect guns. If he was saying that while fighting for reparations, I may have a little bit of empathy. But this white on white violence, he died? Damn, B. Life comes at you fast. I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk because I cannot be in his shoes. I have no frame of reference for that. I have no cognizance for that. There literally is nothing about his existence that I can relate to.
But DL wasn't finished. He later returned with a video compilation titled Hate and Bigotry, Charlie Kirk's Real Legacy, a blunt summary of what he believes Charlie truly stood for. He didn't stop there. DL also resurfaced an old video where Charlie denied that George Floyd was killed by a police officer and openly said he hoped Derek Chauvin would be released from prison. And finally, DL hinted at something even more controversial, the idea that Charlie may have been targeted by the very groups he once stood up for. DL suggested this theory in a post where he wrote, "I just want to remind everyone that when someone shot Trump, immediately it was the radical left this and the liberal extremist, and it ended up being someone from his side." DL also added in the caption, "Remember, when you point a finger at someone, there are 3 fingers on that hand pointing back at you." Let's be clear, DL Hughley wasn't celebrating what happened. He was analyzing the racial and political dynamics at play, especially how gun violence is perceived differently depending on who's involved. Still, it didn't sit well with some of Charlie Kirk's supporters. They accused DL of shifting the focus away from the tragedy and trying to justify the actions of the shooter. But many others stood by DL's perspective. They argued that what's really upsetting Kirk's base is the fact that Black people are staying focused on their own lives, not reacting with outrage or grief in the way Kirk's supporters expected. In their eyes, some of these reactions are just attempts to provoke racial tension, and they're frustrated that Black communities aren't falling for it. But DL isn't the only one facing backlash. Amanda Seales is also being heavily criticized after she made it clear she wasn't going to pretend to feel empathy for Charlie Kirk. During a live stream shared on Instagram, Amanda directly addressed comments urging her to be compassionate. She pointed out that Charlie Kirk himself openly rejected the idea of empathy. And because of that, she said she couldn't relate to him or imagine herself in his position. There's simply no common ground. As expected, the response was swift and hostile. Charlie's fans began targeting Amanda with vicious insults. And it wasn't just from white commenters. Black men on X were also attacking her, calling her everything from scum to the B word, and throwing around terms like idiot, sociopath, and worse. Meanwhile, some white users were posting that Amanda should be stripped of her citizenship, deported, and ranting about so-called Black fatigue. Despite the online abuse, Amanda had plenty of people defending her. Many echoed the same argument, that she wasn't celebrating Charlie's death. She was simply refusing to offer false sympathy for someone whose public persona was rooted in promoting racial division and hostility. One supporter put it like this: "Nowhere in there did she celebrate his death. Nowhere in there did she espouse hate. She said she doesn't have empathy for him. He said empathy is a new age word that is dangerous." He said that himself. So he didn't have empathy and didn't want empathy from others. I'm so tired of this foolishness. Is it sad that he was killed? Yes. Does everyone have to care? No. He spread a lot of actual hate and lies with his rhetoric. But because he's dead now, we are supposed to forget all about that and pretend he was this saint. I think not. I will not celebrate his death, but I will not be mourning either. And that doesn't make me evil or hateful in the slightest. Another commenter wrote, "She's too real. Now I get why the media isn't behind her. They didn't like Malcolm X either. But once I actually listened to her, I realized what she stands for. Salute to this woman from across the world. She's more genuine and courageous than your favorite rapper, or even your favorite rapper's favorite rapper." But let's shift gears for a moment, because we also need to talk about Dr. Umar Johnson. Many people assumed he'd echo Amanda's stance. Instead, Umar chose a different route, directing his message at other Black folks and criticizing how some were responding to the news of Charlie Kirk's death. According to Umar, the jokes, memes, and online reactions to the assassination had gone too far. He addressed the situation in a statement shared on his Instagram, where he said, "While I did not agree with Mr. Kirk's rhetoric and considered him to be an anti-Black bigot, I will never rejoice at the loss of life of anyone who hasn't directly participated in the unaliving of a member of the Black African race. I am ashamed to see members of my community celebrating the situation. I will never ask you to mourn the loss of an enemy of our race, but to celebrate an unaliving is completely unacceptable. We know all too well that the greatest recipients of political assassinations in this country have been our own people. Stop laughing at the misfortunes of others and get prepared. Political assassinations have returned to the United States of America courtesy of the deep state, But a lot of Dr. Umar's followers weren't on board. Many pushed back, accusing him of downplaying the situation and preaching at people instead of standing with them. One person commented, "Would you be saying this if it had been you who got shot?" Just something to think about. Others argued that no one was celebrating the death. People were simply choosing not to mourn it. And then another commenter didn't hold back at all, writing, "50 lashes for you, Dr. Umar, for posting this." You think any non-black person would post something like this for you? Stop giving your energy to vampires. So yeah, the internet has completely exploded over this. And if anything, the chaos seems to be escalating. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Whoever orchestrated this assassination may have gotten exactly what they wanted: more division. The country feels more fractured than ever, and the range of reactions we're seeing proves just how easily violence can be used to deepen those rifts. Everyone, from celebrities to politicians to everyday people, has weighed in. And when you step back, it becomes clear. The outrage we're seeing may have been the intended result all along. So what do you think about the reactions from 50 Cent, Dr. Umar, Amanda Seales, and others? Are we still capable of having a real conversation about what's going on beneath the surface? Or are we too far gone, too divided to recognize we're all being played by the same forces? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.